Hector Bravo, unhinged. Chaos is now in session.
Welcome back to our channels, Warriors. We are still growing. Today, another special guest, another banger. Man, this dude rolled up in a badass ride. I had to open up the parking garage for him. We have none other than Austin Hancock in the house. What's up, dude?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me on your podcast.
Thanks for showing up, man.
For sure. Good to connect with like-minded people.
Definitely. Yeah, we were chopping it up beforehand, and Austin, the former Marine, right? There's no such thing as an ex-Marine.
That's right.
Former
Once Marine, always a Marine.
former Iraq War veteran.
Yes, sir.
And now just freaking thriving in business and in life.
Thanks,
dude.
brother. I appreciate that.
Yeah, bro. So you said you were originally from Oklahoma.
Yeah, so born and raised. I mean, I was born in Kansas, but my parents moved to Oklahoma when I was 8. So
When you were 8?
yeah, it's pretty much grew up in Oklahoma.
All right. Were you like a hyper kid back then? Because I want to get into the mindset.
You know, I tell people this. I grew up, you know, with the pretty middle class, you know, bread and butter, freaking conservative family, you know, riding my bicycle. Like, you seen the movie Sandlot? That was kind of like my life. Like, I had a great suburban life, like a good kid, you know?
We're pretty much the same age.
Yeah.
Were you doing stunts on the bike?
Oh yeah, dude, we jump each other. Like we dig dirt jumps, and then you'd lay down, I jump you, and then we do it. You know, the whole group of us. That's how it was.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Oh, of course.
I'm trying to see if like there's
Skating, you know, bike
Yeah.
riding, whatever you could do. Swimming in the summers.
Absolutely. Swimming in canals. Did you guys ever swim in canals?
Yeah, there's creeks and everything behind in the forest. We just get lost. We were just kids. I mean, at that time, you know, in
Right.
the early 2000s and all the 90s and even before that. But when we grew up, you could. You know, your parents just let you go. And then when the streetlights came on, you had to check in a lot of times or figure it out. Call from a friend's phone.
It builds character,
Friends.
bro.
Yeah, it does.
Builds
A lot
character.
of freedom at that young of age, you know, a lot of responsibility.
Elaborate on that. And
Yeah, a
you're
lot
right.
of freedom as in like no cell phones tied to you, no GPS can track you, nobody's videoing you. Like, I mean, all the stupid shit you do as a kid. And it could be like harmless stuff, but it's a
Correct.
big deal to you, you know, hitting, you know, throwing sticks, rocks, you name
Yeah,
it.
egging
you know.
houses.
Yeah, TPing and knocking on your buddies' doors, you know, running.
How were you in school as far as grades wise?
I mean, I'm a C student, dude, on average, right? Some classes were A's. I mean, I've always got A's in wood tech, always got A's in PE. But when it came to really sitting down and like being good at math and stuff, you know, I was a C student. I wasn't intrigued in it. Honestly, I think it's one of those things that I thought back onto it. I was like, if they would have taught me that I needed money and the money would have got me the things that I wanted, I probably, and put a dollar sign in front of the math, maybe I would have learned it faster.
You were probably a C student because you didn't apply yourself. I mean, I'm sure if
I was
you applied
bored,
yourself, you
yeah.
would have been a fucking A.
Yeah,
So
and
that's
some of
kinda-
that stuff doesn't come easy to me. Like, I just
Right.
I wasn't interested in it, man.
No, that's nice, bro. I seen similarities, dude. At what point did you decide to join the Marine Corps?
So I always wanted to be in the military. Like, I feel like since I was watching the Rambo movies as a kid, I was, you know, Saving Private Ryan came out when I think we were in high school-ish.
Yep.
Maybe it was middle school. All these movies, you know, associated with it. But, like, I've always wanted to be in the military of some capacity. I would go to the library and talk about not being a good student, but I would go to the library and I would check out, like, Navy SEAL books, Marine books, Army books. I got really hooked on, since you're an Army guy, I got really hooked on for a while being an Army Ranger because I was like, I want to jump out of planes. I had this infatuation with like jumping out of an airplane with a parachute. I was like, that's super sick. That's some bad dudes, man. I want to do that commando style.
That's crazy, bro, because I got hooked on Carlos Hathcock, the famous Marine Corps
yeah.
sniper from
Yeah.
Vietnam, bro, with a
Exactly what
white
you're talking
feather,
about.
dude.
That's sick. And I didn't think much about the Marines, honestly, at that
didn't?
time. No. I don't know why. I guess I just didn't think much about it.
But did you have any knowledge on the military?
Oh, yeah, I knew it. Dude, I knew weapon systems before I was in the military at all. Yeah, I studied it that much. I was kind of a nerd. Like, I would watch World War II documentaries sometimes, and I was
Really?
like, yeah. I was like
Really?
a war junkie.
So you made the conscious decision to join the Marine Corps.
Yeah. So funny enough, so I was a good kid throughout my childhood. You know, here and there, fist fights, trouble, normal boy shit. But senior year, I got myself in a lot of trouble before I graduated high school. I landed 2 felonies and 2 misdemeanors.
2 felonies.
Yeah. I wasn't ever convicted, but I
Right.
was charged. So
You were charged
yeah, but I was never convicted.
while you were a senior in high
Well, I
school.
was 17 years old, so I got tried as a youthful offender, and I was a senior in high school.
Now, did that affect your schooling?
No, surprisingly, it didn't affect my schooling. But what it did do is it paved the way for my little sister to go through high school. So, because the reason I say that is because what I did was essentially I was at a party. Long story short, I was at a party and I got jumped at the party. You and I go out back. It's just a college party, and I was the youngest there. We're the youngest guys there. We're high school kids. And I got jumped, just punched and beat up, and then, surprise attack essentially for some reason. And we come back. We left. We come back, and then I stroked this dude over the head with a tire iron, busted out his windows, and really sought revenge with my boys. And I got, going into the property, I got burglary 1 because I just walked into the house, but I didn't steal anything, you know what I mean? And I got assault with a deadly weapon for hitting the guy over the head.
Damn.
But yeah, so I led a pretty solid senior year for my poor parents.
Now, they charged you with assault with a deadly weapon. Did they charge you with attempted murder first and bring you down?
No, they didn't. Fortunately, they didn't.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it was because I was 17.
Yeah.
Because I was going to get tried as a youthful offender, so I was looking at going to a juvenile delinquent center for like a minimum of 6 months because I was kind of the lead. Because I was the one that got jumped. I brought the guys back like, come on, Hector, let's go, bro. So I was kind of the antagonist to bring my homies with me. And then but I was the youngest one. My other buddies were, 18, 19, whatever.
Yeah.
And that came with me, and they weren't the one that did that. And so, but I was getting tried as a youthful offender. And at that time, I was like, dude, I really wanted to join the military.
Okay.
And that summer, I was working construction like I did every summer growing up, working for my dad's company, doing concrete work, tying rebar, learning how to trim houses, whatever was needed, I would do it. And I learned that. That's how I grew up in the summers in my high school years.
Yeah.
And so I was working with this guy, and he's like, dude, you should join the Marines. And he wanted to join the Marines. His dad was in the Marines. His brother was in the Marines, but he couldn't join because he busted his jaw bull riding, and he had steel plates in his jaw. And then that was back in the 80s, older guy. And he goes, you should join the Marines. And I was like, dude, I got all this shit going on. And he was kind of like, I look back now, and he was giving me some good life advice, right? Like, I didn't think about it. That was just this old guy that I worked with that was, cool older guy that did construction.
Yeah.
But he was right. He could see where I was going, what I was doing, and who I was hanging out. And he was like, yeah, dude, you need to join. You should go to the Marines. That'd be the best place for you. And he said something to me that's huge that I think helped change my life. Because, and this can go into a longer conversation, but he said, don't tell anybody, because my parents were already strung out with it. They were already upset. I come from a very conservative household, no alcohol, church on Sundays, my parents never really got in trouble. They owned their own construction business.
Yeah.
My dad was a college graduate, like very square people,
Right.
like in all good sense of ways. So I didn't need for anything. They're always there, like middle class, good people,
Right.
smart. They're still together today.
That's good.
My parents are married. Both sides of my grandparents have been married, until one passed. And so I come from that kind of background, and then I go and do this, and it's like, oh, dude, he's gonna go to prison. I got a tattoo senior year.
Yeah,
in
like the
somebody's
black sheep of the
kitchen.
family.
Yeah, I
This guy-
get felonies. I'm doing all this, and so they think it's over. They're like want more control. They're like putting the hammer down on me. And so, anyways, he tells me, he's like, dude, you should go join the Marines. And I was like, okay, I'll figure it out. And so I just dialed up the recruiter, went to the Marine Corps recruiter's office and talked to him. And dude, fortunately, like things happen for a reason.
Absolutely.
God is there, or the universe, it aligns. And the recruiter, staff sergeant, his dad used to be the chief of police, if I could spit it out of my mouth, chief of police for the town that I lived in.
Really?
So yeah. And so back when he grew up. And so he was just there on recruiting duty, and he requested that area because he grew up around it.
Nice.
See what I'm saying? And so anyways, he's like, yeah, I'll go with your attorney. I had an attorney. I was lawyered up. I mean, I'm going through the whole thing in senior year. And he goes, I'll go with your attorney. Me, the recruiter, and my attorney go to the judge. And this is after 2 or 3. Trial takes a couple times, multiple times. And I'm just sitting there. I can't do much until it's my time to speak, which we didn't get to that point. And so we're like, Austin's going to join the Marine Corps. If he follows through with everything, he does what he says he's going to do, signs the contract, goes through boot camp, his charges get expunged. And so I did. It's like
Charges
old school,
get
bro.
expunged? Holy shit, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I've
wrote
heard
on my, you could look me up on OCN, because when I was started to make money and be as an entrepreneur and go do banking and lending, they'd be like, when they would do their background search, I'd have to be like, all right, and this is like years after I got out of the Marines too, so I had a lot of outstanding accomplishments that were in a positive manner.
Right.
Going through the Marine Corps, meritorious promotions, and like really carving my path that way. So I could say, yes, when I was 17, I did this dumb shit, but this is where I am today. And they're like, oh, okay, so it maths out.
Oh, this conversation just got a hell of a lot of
Yeah,
more
it's
interesting.
wild, bro. And so, so anyways, I did that, and then my recruiter ends up going to freaking court for me and with me, and then we make the deal, and I shoot off to boot camp in 2006.
I think what played in your favor, and you're right, everything does happen for a reason. It was that surge in Iraq.
Exactly what I tell people. They were wavering people left and right.
Correct.
They were like, pump as many people out there as possible.
Absolutely.
And they're like, well, the kid's going to go to juvie or he's going to go to war. Shit, send him to war if he wants to go to war.
Yeah, we need dudes in war right
Yup.
now. I think it was Bush at the time. Mm-hmm. Fucking that surge.
It was a huge surge. I remember that. I mean, that was part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a ton of dudes that were getting wavered in through boot camp and shit.
So let's fast forward to the surge, 06, Iraq. Coming from your experience, your background, did you enjoy that experience? Or did you feel at home being in the Marine Corps?
Yeah, I did. So, like, I mean, honestly, joining the Marines was the best thing for me because that's what I needed. Like, I went from, like, fist fighting, drinking as a high schooler, which was leading me nowhere good, hanging out with the wrong people, wrong crowds, chasing tail. And then I joined the Marines, and it was like, that's all that everybody does. But it's harnessed, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it was harnessed and shaped. And so I felt like, you know, I tell people this, I'm like, the Marine Corps, I was like reborn in the Marine Corps. Like I knew a bunch of things about life because I had been working, I had grew up in construction. Like I had a lot of skills already as a young man from doing things. But the Marine Corps was a really good place because I got to meet people like you, like like-minded people. It's very similar to what we talked about off the show. Talked about how podcasts and social media can draw people together that are like-minded. Well, that being a Marine, being a Marine is like, oh, we all wanted to be that, and so now you have a lot of commonality with people from Texas, you know, New Jersey, wherever in the United States, and that was awesome. I loved it. I was where I wanted to be. Yeah.
Especially at that time frame, things hadn't taken the far drastic left woke.
Oh no, man! Like we talked a little bit off camera. My drill instructors were freaking Purple Hearts, Fallujah vets.
Oh, were they?
They all came back. So in 2006. They're all coming back, and I mean, I got guys with a pretty large rap sheet of combat. I mean, Fallujah Marines, and they're drill instructors because they get sent to the drill field because they picked up sergeant, and so it's a different type of preparation for boot camp.
Absolutely, bro. And let's think about the generations, right? The generations of the Vietnam veterans that were drill instructors or drill sergeants for.
Oh yeah, for the dudes after that.
I was just thinking, for you to have been trained by Fallujah war veterans, bro, that's Marines. That's a huge fucking deal.
There was hardcore boot camp was hardcore. This is my initial. So for y'all that don't know, Marine Corps boot camp's 13 weeks long. First week is receiving, so everybody just gets in. MCRD right here in San Diego.
Okay.
I'm a West Coast Marine. And so we check in. First week is just receiving. You're just like paperwork, making sure you're squared away, got all your medical bullshit. And then you pick up. And that first day you pick up is that Friday. And they call it Black Friday in the Marine Corps boot camp. And so that's when the drill instructors get introduced to you. They do their whole thing, and then they just thrash you for the entire day. They just throw your foot locker. They throw all your shit around. They're trying to just completely scramble your brain and make you second guess why you're even here. It's all psychological, and it's great. It's needed, especially for men that are going to go to war, people that are going to go to war. And so Black Friday, we're freaking doing the thing, carrying our footlockers out, in and out, getting yelled at, getting spit on, getting pushed over, getting bashed over the heads on accident, all these things, you know how it is. And we're outside with our footlockers, and I'm looking up, and I'm in the barracks, right? And there's a 3-story barracks. And at the very top floor, this is San Diego, so there's no air conditioning. There's only old heater units. And the windows are half cracked open, like they slant forward, like old government buildings, right? Yeah. Barracks. And so I'm looking up, and everybody else is getting the same treatment in our company, right? So my platoon, and then there's multiple platoons inside the company, and on each floor is a different platoon.
Right.
And so you're looking up, that floor's getting fucked up. These guys are getting thrashed. Like all these kids, I call them kids because we're really young, I'm freaking 18 years old this time. Most Marines are very young. And I remember the oldest dude in our platoon was 26, and I was like, bro, he's so fucking old. Like, why are you here?
Yeah.
And so we're carrying our footlockers out. The drill instructors make us take them out, dump them out, put them back together, take them out, put them back in. And so we're heading back into the house, into the squad bay. And I look up, and this freaking recruit jumps out of the 3rd-story window and tries to kill himself right through the fucking glass, lands like 10 feet away from me with my footlocker in my hands. And all the rest of us are doing the same, all of us recruits. And the drill instructor just looks over and looks at him after he smashes. He's like, good. I hope you fucking die. I hope he fucking dies. And we're all like, oh, my God, bro, it's over for me.
Holy shit, dude.
So,
I've heard of stories like that.
Yeah, boot camp was like that.
Did he fucking jump through the window?
He jumped through it. He just saw the opportunity and said, I want the fuck out. Probably a lot. How it is. I mean, I'm assuming you guys went through the similar stuff, but people, they want out. and they don't. There's no really way out. Like the,
Yeah, I was
the
about to
military's
say
not
that.
letting
I was
you
about
out.
to say that. There is no getting out.
There's no getting out.
What happens is now they're on suicide watch, and now you got to put them in the kill zone, and we got to do security fire watch on them.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Until they can get to like real medical help, and until it can get processed, and then through processing, like they might as well gone through boot camp because it takes the same amount of time.
If you're thinking about joining the military and you want out, do not try to do anything retarded. You're not
Yeah.
getting out.
No. And then especially during boot camp, like the objective during boot camp is you're not. It's like you're not getting out. You know. And so,
Holy
but these guys,
shit.
they'll do that. They'll like claim suicide. They'll try to kill themselves and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And they'll get med-sepped out. And it's good. Like I talk to my drill instructors now, and they did that. Like one of my drill instructors actually, I've talked to a couple of them since I've been out. One of them jumped on my program and started doing some badass shit. But he was like, "Yeah, that was our goal. Our goal is to break people there because we knew that 99% of you guys were going straight to freaking war that we just got back from."
Absolutely.
So
100%.
Yeah.
I would say they take your bootlaces away too if you're suicidal.
yeah, they do.
or
You'll see them stomping around, 100%. And they put them in a jumpsuit in the Marine Corps, so they
Yeah.
look like they're in a flight suit.
Or a fucking orange vest.
Yeah, an
some
orange vest.
silly
yeah.
shit, bro.
Yeah.
So you go to Iraq.
Yeah.
How was that experience? Did it change you in any way as a person?
100%. Yeah, you know, at the time, I didn't think it did. It's funny because I went to Iraq in 2007 and in 2008, and I didn't see like heavy combat. Like I wasn't like freaking the movies, right? I mean, there was definitely pop shots, there was IEDs and stuff, but I was fortunate.
Indirect mortar fire.
Indirect mortar. I mean, yeah, all sorts of random things like that. But I'm very fortunate that we came home with everybody in our platoon and in our company as well. So, and you know, you wish that you want to challenge yourself. You want to go to war. That's what you think in your head. But the reality is, like, I'm grateful for nobody getting injured and nothing happened. Right. So, but you're still under a lot of pressure and a lot of stress for a long period of time because you have a job to do. You're worried about the fucking IEDs going off. You're sweeping. You're clearing houses. You're going on operations, and you're just highly stressed out. I mean, in a good way. It's what you wanted to do for your job. It is what it is. But, you know, being 19 years old at the time that I was in Iraq, and I'm a 249 machine gunner, so I'm a saw gunner, and we're pulling adults out of their cars. I mean, you pull people out of their cars. You take a big role in you going from, oh, you're just a 19-year-old in the United States, if you were just on the streets as a civilian, to now you're a 19-year-old and you're in control of like these adults, this family, this car, this stop, this TTP, you know, this transition point, things like that. And so you kind of it's intense, right? Like, you know, and so what we did was like standard operating procedures when we were in Iraq where cars had to stop when we would drive through. So 710 would pump through and then 3 vehicles, Humvees would come behind it. And that was our convoy. We were a pretty small convoy. And everybody had to get out of their car. We would do pin flares, pop shots, make them get out, bullhorns, you know, the whole 9 yards, man. You're the king of the road. And but during the time that I was in Iraq, we were actually transitioning and pulling back on the standard operating procedures, trying to get the Iraqi army to take more of a role and the Iraqi police to have a little more control and to give them back their territory and pull outside the city. But all that being said, coming back home, you know, I went back home and I started, and I got out swiftly after that. And so now I'm hanging out with friends from high school again. But they're all young, 19, 20 years old, 21. We're partying again. It went right back to that. And my mindset's completely different, bro.
Probably had your money saved up from your deployment.
I did. The smartest thing I did buy a house. So I bought a house at 21. I got a roommate. He helped me. He was helping me. Essentially, he was paying half the mortgage or more. And so that was kind of my first real estate. We'll get into that in a minute. Venture. But still, like, just doing, you know, these stupid shit, drinking, partying, living more of a bachelor life at this time. And I got in a lot of fights after that too. And I'm fortunate that I never got like in trouble again.
Yeah.
But just picking fights, doing stupid shit, just drinking alcohol. I struggled a lot that I didn't even know that I struggled with until I looked back upon it, like almost 10 years later, bro. With just like really being high strung, you know, and then being worried about the stupidest things. You know, I say stupid things, but this is what happens. You know, be driving down the road and be worried about a box. My mind was thinking different than my friends were from high school, and I could tell, and I lost a lot of friends, bro.
I still think that to this day, bro.
Yeah.
If I see trash, a box, or even a parked car on the side of the road, first thought is IED.
Yeah,
or
100%.
First thought.
Every
then
time.
I think to myself, oh, that was fuck. Why?
Yeah, it is how it is. I mean, because it's so ingrained into your brain, and it is such a life like, life or death. So
Hey guys, consider becoming a patron where you will get first exclusive dibs on the video before it airs to the public, and you'll get to ask the guest special questions that you have in mind. So that's also another way to support the channel. Thank you guys. Appreciate all of you. Keep pushing forward. Make sure you hit that link in the description below. So did your record get expunged when you got out, or that didn't ever happen?
It expunged like essentially while I was in, but you could still see it, like it fully erased, I think, within that time period.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Now, you said you were struggling. Did you ever get in serious trouble, or were you able to bounce? Were you able to bounce into success at that period in time?
So I think I could have easily gotten in serious trouble. I think it missed me. There was many of times that I was doing things that I should have or could have, if I would have been caught, gotten in serious trouble again, and it would have gone right back down to where it was. But fortunately, I didn't. And this isn't like hurting people or fighting anymore, but just dumb shit, drinking, driving, freaking rolling vehicles over, and like just doing heinous, stupid shit, bar stuff. There was even... I went back to construction. That's all I knew.
That's what next question I was going to ask you. What were you doing for a living?
Yeah, no, I was just doing construction, working for my dad again, growing, so I started trying to move up a little bit, do a little more, make a little more money is really what I wanted to do. My dad's not one of those guys that's going to give me, you could be a project manager. It's, you're working with the crew, you're making an hourly pay, you're tying the rebar, and that's good. I'm glad because it pushed me to want more. But like, I got back and I was like, this is boring. And so there was a short stint that I volunteered and went to a rodeo school in Rose Hill, Kansas, where I rode bulls, like amateur bulls. Yeah, to start getting into it.
The 8 second?
Yeah, bulls. Yeah, like bucking them out of the freaking chutes and everything. I did that for a little bit because I went down that rodeo scene.
Were you were just doing looking for an adrenaline rush?
I was
or
looking for an adrenaline rush. I was looking for an adrenaline rush because after you get out of the Marine Corps, I mean, life's so fast when you're in there. You're doing stuff. You're moving. Things are happening. You feel like life's really, you're living it.
Right.
And then when you get back, and if you have a job, even if it's a construction job and it's not like a desk job, you're still just like the mundane cycle of the same thing over and over. I feel people get really stuck on. Like, it's like, this is all I'll ever be. I once was this.
Right.
And that's what vets struggle with a lot. And
Absolutely.
I try to provide as much clarity and help for them on this, is it's I'll never be as good as I once was syndrome, And it's like, because we did all this cool shit, or you did all these things, or you have these accolades, and then you get out, and then you're like, and I didn't even stay in that long, but there'll be dudes that stay in 10, 15, 20 years, lifers, and then they get out, and maybe they were this badass Marine or badass soldier or whatever. They have all these accolades, and then it's like, okay, now you have to work here at Walmart behind the desk because you have no other credibility.
And they feel that they don't have that identity anymore, or they lost their identity.
They lose themselves. They lose their identity because their entire identity is attached to that 100%.
Correct.
Yeah, and I didn't have that because I got out young, in and out type deal. But yeah, I struggled. But I'm going back. What kept me back in line, got me back in line, was when I met my wife.
Was this all around the same time frame that you were doing construction?
Yeah, so I got out of the Marine Corps at like 21, and then I met my wife at 23. And so there's about a 2-year span of bacheloring it up with my roommate and the drinking and problems and doing construction.
Right.
And I really didn't want for more because I was making, hourly pay, typical construction guy, enough to buy beer on the weekend, enough for a truck.
Elaborate on that mindset. Elaborate on that mindset, because I feel that 98% of Americans are stuck in that mindset.
They are.
I have a job. I could afford beer. I'm paying the bills. Elaborate on that mindset and what it feels like to be stuck.
It's the biggest trap. You hear all these rags to riches stories, and now that I speak to audiences and I coach a lot of people, these rags to riches stories, the zero to hero story, we really love that as Americans. And I love it too. Foreigner that comes from nothing to freaking multimillionaire, or guy that was beat up in high school, now he's a professional fighter, whatever it is. We love that story. It's something I think as humans, we find passion in. But what gets glossed over is the comfort zone of just being okay with where you're at. And so many people get stuck, whether it's financially, most of the time it's financially attached, but with their own mindset and own limiting beliefs that this is enough. Like you said, I have enough money for beer on the weekend. I drive a pretty cool truck and I can fix it, maybe some wheels and tires, whatever it is.
Ford, Chevy,
I bought all sorts of shit for my stupid trucks, back in the day. And then, and I like cars, like not any disadvantage to that. You should get what you want.
Right.
But you get stuck, and then like maybe they even move up in their job and they go from, for example, for me, maybe I move up to a project manager and now I'm making a salary, maybe a little bit more money, and then I get a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and now I'm locked into a 30-year mortgage, and then I have a wife, and then I have kids, and then now what happens is fear sets in. The fear of leaving all of that, the fear of failure, the fear of these things that you feel you've worked so hard for, which you have, like, and the problem is, like in my scenario with construction, you work really hard for it, like physically,
Right?
Like truck driving, freaking shoveling when you're starting out, late nights, early mornings. So you're working physically really hard to make that dollar. So that dollar has much more value to you at that point in your life. And so you're so scared to lose what you have that you're not willing to take the next step and risk it on the line again to go through the glass ceiling, to break the next barrier, to figure out more. And so that's where people get really stuck,
But how much of the government system play a role in, creating this hamster on the wheel, as I call it?
I mean, it's an ingenious business model, to be honest. Like if you're the government or high-paying jobs or companies, it's an ingenious model to keep people in there. And there's a need for it. Not everybody needs to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody needs to be, a multi-millionaire or to do all this crazy stuff. But the people I'm specifically talking to are the ones that want it but deny themselves of it because of the beliefs and the track record that they have, and that's okay to have a great time with your family, have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, have the new F-150. That's okay. But my question to people watching this and to most people when I coach them is like, are you selling yourself that that's what you want, or is that really what you want? You're selling yourself that that's what you want because you don't feel like you can achieve X, or is that really what you want? And if it's really what you want, then I give you a pat on the back and commend you all day long, and I think that's amazing. But if you never self-develop and you never analyze what you really want and why you want it, then you're just gonna live life with what you have in front of you.
Do you believe some of that anxiety or unsettling feeling of unhappiness seeps into those individuals because they feel and they know they can do more, and yet they're stuck in that?
I think that
And they don't know how to get out?
I don't think they know they can do more. I think that they don't want to find out if they're going to try really hard and fail. Like, think about it this way. If I tell myself I'm going to do something, let's say it's go to the gym, and I've never gone to the gym in my life, but if I tell myself in my head, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, but I don't tell anybody else, and then I don't wake up and do it tomorrow, no harm, no foul.
Oh, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, but if I tell you, and I tell my wife, and I tell my friends, I tell everybody, and I tell the world that I'm going to go out there, and I go to the gym because I'm like, fuck, I told everybody, so I go tomorrow, and then I go the next day, and then I go 14 more days, and then I kind of dial off, and I skip the weekend because I want to hang out with the boys. Then I kind of dial off a little more, and I go once a week. Then I kind of dial off, and it falls off, which is what most people do every year, like the simplest thing with fitness, right? They just don't want the fear of failure in front of other people is what I'm getting at.
Let's talk about other discouraging factors.
Well, other discouraging factors, exactly what we're rolling into, because another discouraging factor would be finding commonality in other people that have quit the gym as well. And it's like, it's all right. So you hang out with those people, and then they're just giving you a pat on the back for the life that you have. And so when you surround yourself, it's the same concept with money. It's the same concept with self-development and growth. You and all your neighbors with your 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses and your F-150s and your half-ass gym exercises are all sitting there circle jerking the fuck out of each other because all you want to do is solidify that what you're doing is okay, and taking a big risk could lose everything in your life. And so that's the big fear. And what happens is the further down the road you get, there is more risk involved, right? You don't want to bet the yard when you have 2 kids to take care of at the house and the home goes to foreclosure and all of these things. But what I would challenge people to think about is that you think that you have security where you're at, and and you don't. You could lose your job at any time.
Absolutely.
If it's a government job, you're going to get capped.
100%.
So you're going to be through a slow pain most of the time. But the true security, true financial security, and true security in general is learning how to make your own dollar, learning how to earn your own money, make your own money, and learning who you are and what you really want.
And it could be anything, right? I mean, if you're good at baking, now with social media.
There's amazing opportunities right now, man.
Sky's the limit,
100%.
dude.
Yep. But it's just like this. I could tell you how to go swim. I could show you books on how to swim. but I can't go swim for you.
Right.
And that's what most people do. Most people just like talk about it and they don't go try it themselves or do it. And you know, but here's the thing, no one can take that away from you once you learn it.
Right.
That's the same with money.
I want to come back to what we're talking about right now, but I love history, bro.
Sure.
Not like the nerdy kind of shit, more like, fucking Spartans,
Yeah.
cavemen, our ancestors and stuff like that. The man, right? The man, the alpha male. Do you think American men in 2025 have come a long way from what the fuck we're supposed to be doing?
Yes, but I still feel like there's there's men out there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yes. Yeah, we have, for sure. We definitely have. But I think that if you shined a light on history, there was a lot of issues then too.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, if I were to think back how my grandfathers grew up and their dads treated them, I think that the men back then had a hard time with communication.
Right.
And I feel like I see one thing that's massively beneficial today's time is that men have better relationships with their children and they're more involved and more conscious of that than back in the day when it was fucking Clint Eastwood style, kick your kid, smack your son, and tell him to get a job at 14.
I'm glad you said that, bro, because that's knowledge to me, dude. I just really put that in perspective. Dude.
It's huge because like our grandfathers would probably had their ass whooped for stuff like big time. Like but what happens is like you could take what you said a second ago and go too far and be like, yeah, old school, back how it was. You know, you need a little grit and grind.
Right.
And I'm a huge advocate for it in the right way.
Excellent. Dude.
Right. You know what I mean? You could still have that grit and grind. You could still have that. You push through things. We do hard shit. But at the same time, there has to be love there and communication.
I stand corrected, bro, but I like it, dude. It makes fucking total sense, man.
Yeah, yeah. But I think what you're kind of hitting on was also about like the Blue Ribbon Award for every kid. You know what I'm saying? The first place, everybody gets an award, a participation trophy, and that's where, honestly, kind of our generation comes in.
Right.
Like that's where it started, like the 80s and the 90s and then in the 2000s. And so everybody, it's like, well, Timmy fucking sucks, and Johnny's really good. Well, let's just give everybody an award.
I was aiming more towards self-preservation as being physical fit.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was like.
I got
you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like back then, you needed to be physically able to outrun fucking saber-toothed tigers.
Yeah. Back then, for sure.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like our grandfather's generation, they had to too, because a lot of times they worked with their hands.
Facts.
A lot more jobs that were physically demanding.
So there's individuals that are unhappy. I mean, you coach, I coach as well, and we've come across this, man. It's like fucking a dime a dozen. They say they're unhappy. We know they're unhappy. We can clearly see evidence they're unhappy, and they reach out for information, but they don't follow through. How do you deal with that?
I think there's always going to be a percentage of people that don't follow through. I think what I've seen the most of is it's not the program. It's not the diet. It's not the information or education we're going to give you or I'm going to give you or the book or anything like that. Most of the time, people have two problems, and one I touched on a minute ago. The fear of failure in front of other people, so the fear of trying hard and their hard not being enough and failing, and now all of their friends told you shouldn't have fucking invested in that guru. Look at you now. You're a dumbass and you're $10,000 out of pocket, right? So the fear of failure, or start the business. You could use a business as an example. Oh, you're going to go start your business and quit your job? Yeah, right, good luck. And then all their people at the office tell them good luck. And then now they're like so worried about what the people at the office will think when they do, if they ever had the situation of failing. So they're like, fuck that. And then the other factor, which is a huge component, is that they don't believe that they can do it, right? They don't have enough self-belief. They've never had anybody say, you can do it, like cheerlead them on. One of the things talking about men in this generation versus prior is that a lot of guys grow up without a father figure and without somebody that's stable there. And some people have a lot of history or issues or subconscious issues or prior traumas that they have from growing up or lack of fathers or lack of encouragement or all these things. And so they have this track record. You talked about school with me and stuff a minute ago. You had this track record of who Austin Hancock was up until today. Right. And that's the story that I've told myself. Now, this is an example, but this is the story I've told myself. And over, Austin's not good at math. I was never really athletic. I never, I grew up poor, so I'll probably be poor. Like, there's just the regurgitating story that's over and over. I'm not good at speaking. I'm uncomfortable on camera. Like, I can make up all these things. And then what I'm doing is my whole story is like I'm constantly replaying the story every single day. And that's giving me the results that I don't want, but it's giving me the life that I have. So in order to change that, you have to change the story. You have to rewrite the story. You have to rip the page out of the book and start the story that you want to. And in order to do that, you have to fucking have clarity on what you want in life. Paint a picture, close your eyes, meditate about it. What do you want in life? No fucking restraints, no financial restraints, zero restraints. You want to live in San Diego? Fucking paint that picture in your head. You want to have this? You want to have this car? You want to have your wife look like this? You want your wife to look at you like this? You want to be in this shape? You want your children to hug you when you come in? Whatever it is. You want to have this job? You want to travel the world? Expand your mind to that point and then ask yourself, who do you have to become in order to have that? That's it. And most people don't ever fucking think that way. They just keep telling the story.
And one of the easiest things to do is to reach out to somebody that's already fucking done that and is where you want to be and ask them, hey, how did you do that?
I think that's one of the biggest advantages that I had is I was always somebody that asked questions.
Right.
Always. Like from the very beginning of me wanting to learn how to be better at wrestling in school, or me doing, how do I become a bodybuilder? How do I get more muscles? I'd ask the dude in the gym, hey, Hector, how'd you get those biceps, bro? You back, dude, I do a bunch of curls like this. That's how it started for me, literally. And I would just take what you said and I would just do it. I'd be like, roger that, bro, I'm in.
Closed mouths don't get fed, dude.
And I ask all the questions. Dude, I did the same thing with money. And I was not scared to go try it and look stupid, you know?
100%.
I would go do it. And then and if I failed or something happened and didn't work for me, I'd be like, hey, Hector, I did exactly what you said. I've been eating chicken and rice, and how do you fucking eat this every day? I'm doing it for 2 weeks. You're like, oh, bro, I only do this, and then I'll eat beef at dinner, and then I'll, oh, okay, go do that. And it's like adjust. Ask question, adjust. Boom, 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 boom.
It's fucking magic, dude.
Yeah. And then I signed up for tons of mentorships, and I got a lot of mentorships from people.
Let me dive into that right now. From after the Marine Corps, working construction, to the badass dude that just drove up in that badass ride, bro. What steps did you take? And you said you sought mentorship.
I did. And it started there, though, like where I kind of said that, where I was going to the gym. The gym was really, I like to equate that to it because you can see physical change, right? It's the easiest thing. It doesn't really cost you any more money to eat better, to eat less, to stay leaner. Gym memberships are pretty cost effective. So changing your physical body, and it's one of the biggest confidence producers that you can get. So shaping your body, you know, if you want to be jacked and big, or if you want to be athletic and lean, whatever it may be, you just want to lose the weight. Once you can form the body that you're proud of, now you can go forward and have conversations with people. You gain confidence a little bit more to ask the business question, and you have a track record to lean back on that says, when I asked Hector the question about biceps, I fucking did it for 2 years, and now I got biceps. Right. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, so I know that if I do the same system, the same process, if I ask the right question and I implement it, that there will be a result. And if I don't like the result, I need to get new information, then I need to apply it again. And so that kind of sums up what you're asking, right? What was that your question?
That was. Now, you mentioned 2 years, right? With your mindset and my mindset, we understand that nothing happens overnight.
No.
Nothing happens overnight, man. So what do you have to say for those that get discouraged and they do something once? Oh, fuck, I don't got the biceps. Oh, fuck, I'm not rich.
Yeah. Nothing good happens overnight. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't happen overnight. It's going to take longer than you expect, and it's going to cost more than you want to spend. And so, but I think that was your question a minute ago. I didn't elaborate all the way through. But so how do I go from the guy that gets out of the Marines to being who I am today? It's not overnight, man. I've been an entrepreneur for over 10 years. I've been lifting for 20 plus years in some capacity, whether it's the gym, jiu-jitsu, CrossFit, you know, whatever it is. And so it's a longer run. You know, it's a longer run. And one day, when you have that, going back to what I said, if you have that clarity on the life you want to have so often, if you're revisiting it every single day, you're painting that picture, you're being intentional about what you do, you're reading the books, you're listening to the podcasts, you know, you're paying for mentorships, you're just chugging along every day, every minute, every day, you're constantly growing. One day you're going to lift your head up and you're going to realize that you're that man, that you're that person. And that's literally how my life has evolved. And so I wanted the same concept of learning how to gain the biceps we talked about a minute ago. I did with business. I went from working construction and labor to starting a building company as a builder. So I built my own house. I sold it. I made $45,000 on one sale in my mid to late 20s. And I was like, oh my God, this is after being married and after having 2 kiddos. And so my kids are real young. I went off and did it. and I was fortunate. I mean, I had support around me, right? Like my dad was in construction, so I could ask him a ton of questions. There was people in my life that were willing to help me out because they saw that I was going to do what I said I was going to do, and they want to see me win.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I would do this. Made 45 grand on that one deal. That's more than I made the entire year working hourly for my dad. And I was like, but my mindset shifted there. Boom, glass ceiling broken, because I was like, oh, this is how bigger money can be made. Now I can actually see how people can make $300,000 a year.
Did you
I just
sell
have
the
to
house?
do X amount of these.
Did you sell the house you were living in, or it was a separate one?
No. So I had the house I was living in, and then I built one for sale. So a spec house. Went and got a loan. You know, had my father helped me co-sign on the loan.
Nice.
He didn't have to put any money down, but I had to co-sign on this loan, and I figured it out. And then we sold it, and then I made 45 grand, and that was like an epiphany. Now I'm going to be a builder, and so I go all in pretty much. I'm like, so I slowly stopped working for my dad. I start building homes. I get a couple of custom homes, meaning houses I built for other people. I would build these from ground up, do a little bit of mini development, build a few spec houses, which are like houses for sale. And I was like, man, this is awesome. I'm grooving. I have a company. I'm like doing the thing. And then it kept growing and growing. And I got to a point where we were doing big numbers, and I was doing big high-end homes, and I was in magazines. I was doing Parade of Homes. I was doing all this. But another pinnacle point happened. So this is crazy. Like, so most people thought, like, dude, you've made it. People I grew up around, like, you're the builder. You know, you have show homes. Of course, during this transition, I had built my own homes. So I'm living in some pretty sick pads at a young age. You know, I'm doing well. But that business, this is a little bit more deep on business, that business wasn't going to still provide me the life that I wanted. Why? Because it still required me, and it required the clients were emotional about the investment. It's their home. It's their custom home if I'm building it for them. And higher end product, people are more picky about. They will not buy $1 million home with the countertops, not the colors that they want. They want it to be more customized to them. And $1 million in Oklahoma is definitely relatively different than $1 million here in San Diego County. Plus, like minus 5 years ago, you know. So
yeah.
So I was like, boom, I need to learn new information. And I didn't have my dad wasn't a real estate investor. He was a construction guy. He's smart. He knows what he's doing, but he doesn't know real estate investing. So I didn't have any of those resources around me. So I've had to go out and seek mentorship from people that had that, right? That had already done what I wanted to do, and I had to pay to play. And so my wife and I at the time, with 2 young kids, had some houses on the market that weren't selling. We weren't in the best financial position to do this. I invested $52,000 in a 2-year real estate program where I went out. This is before Instagram. This is like 2015, maybe Instagram was out, but it wasn't what it is today.
Right.
We would go out and we would go to these classes and we would learn about how to invest in real estate and how to buy property, how to fix and flip property, how to hold property and build portfolios. And I started implementing it and slowly got myself out of being a builder to becoming an investor.
Now, did you find that mentorship and courses beneficial?
Massively, yeah. I think there's 2 ways to look at it. You'll hear people, you know, that'll invest in a mentorship or a program or whatever. They'll be like, I didn't get any value out of that, or
right.
That was the worst, blah, blah, blah. They're just negative people, half glass empty type people. I go into any of this anymore, and I still invest. I probably invested over $150,000 in 2024 in mentorships. I go into it now if I can take one piece away that saves me 50 grand or makes me 50 grand or 100 grand or 300 grand, bro, what about the time period between now and the next 5-10 years? What can I do with that? So I just need one piece of information, and that's all I need. And so, or just to be able to see you do it. I want to hey man, can you mind if I shadow you for a day and watch you do this podcast? I don't know anything about them. Yeah, dude. Then boom, now you're gonna see it done. How else are you gonna learn that stuff? You're gonna go try the hard way?
I'm definitely tracking, bro. I get it, bro. I see it, man, and that's why I love, doing this. So I love giving knowledge to the audience, to the people watching, because I know there's a bunch of unhappy motherfuckers out there. I mean, I just left the prison system full of it. You know what I mean?
Sad. Yeah.
And it's like, hey, dude, there's fucking a way out. I showed you the way out, man.
Yeah.
Other dudes are showing you.
If other people have done it, you can do it,
And we're just average, normal dudes.
Maybe we're not anymore.
Yeah, you're correct. Because
I think we're perceived. I know for a fact, like I've had a realization recently. One of my reels went viral. And I said something that offended a bunch of people, not like in a racist way or anything, or not bad, but in a way that like they disagree with it. It was about money, and the people that want to be more dependent on minimum wage or government checks were offended by it. And so I was really shocked. So they only have a perception of me looking through me on social media. They don't know any of my history.
Correct.
They don't even know I was a veteran. They don't know that, that I worked construction growing up or anything like that. And I said I didn't have a hard life, but they just don't know that I put in the work. They think that like this guy, they see me today, they judge me for who I am today immediately. They're like, guy that has a freaking Rolls Royce, lives here, he's a Lamborghini, he has all this shit.
Yeah.
And then they just judge that guy. And so they're very hostile. And so you're right. People see that and they don't think that that person did hard work, that it was a trust fund or something like that. But whatever, they'll make up all the excuses in the world because they want to justify their position in life, no matter what. And I mean, in America is an amazing country. The United States is an amazing country because there's people that have come from nothing that can be massive. They can make a ton of money. They can have the lifestyle they want. They just have to be willing to put in the work, and they have to be willing to clarify what it is that they really want. And they have to be willing to, this is the biggest part, they have to get rid of the old story. They have to be willing to say that I was that, I'm not that anymore. And you have to challenge your beliefs.
Now, would you agree that part of the old story includes people?
100%.
Family?
Oh, I've lost tons of friends. At every level of, every phase of life that I've gone through, I've lost a lot of friends. I'm fortunate personally on my side of the family that my family is very supportive. They're just, it's fine, Austin's doing his thing. But I know a lot of other people that would not be the case. It would not be the case at all.
Two-part question. What do you have to say to the individuals that want to make the change to better themselves, but they're afraid of the criticism and the people that critique? And what do you do to face the critics?
Great question. This is usually one of the hardest things, and I'll give you an example. Have you ever heard of the crabs in the bucket theory?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, yeah. For those of you watching that don't know what that means, is if you put one crab in a bucket, the crab can get out. But if you put 5 crabs in the bucket and one crab tries to get out of the bucket, the other crabs will pull that crab back down in the bucket. And so if you really want to change, the best thing you can do is take the advice that I got when I joined the Marine Corps and fucking shut up, block them out, stop talking to them, block them on social media if you have to, cut them out of your life, and put your head down and go after what you're wanting to do. And I know a lot of people, especially family-oriented people, Hispanics a lot of times are family-oriented, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've mentored and coached some of them because I've gone through these scenarios with them, and they feel very obligated to like help their siblings out or their mothers and things like that because maybe the father left or something. This is just specific to the scenario. Right. I shouldn't even. It's not even a race thing, but I'm just telling you. It's more family oriented.
The shoe fits for me. Trust me.
Yeah. And so what I'm saying is, they feel obligated to like, well, I have to stay here because my mom doesn't have anybody to help with this stuff and that stuff and that. But it's the concept of this. If that young man in this scenario went out and became massively successful, put their head down for 3, 4, 5 years, and then came back, you can actually help people. But you're not helping anybody by still being the same person that you are, by being the baby boy.
Say it again for the people in the back, bro.
It's like when you get on a commercial airline, and they all tell you when the freaking plane, if there's an oxygen problem, you have to put your oxygen mask on first, and then help other people. If you were going rushing around, helping grandma, helping the kids out, helping all these people out, and then boom, you're fucking passing out. You're not helping anybody.
Everybody's
now
gonna die.
big ass Hector over here is fucking passing out. Now we can't pick him up, and then somebody else's mask falls off. So you have to put your mask on first. You have to get your life right first. You have to get who you are corrected first. And once you do that, then you can go forth and actually start helping people financially with whatever it is.
So funny story, dude. I actually blocked my mom on Instagram 2 years ago. Not because I don't love her. Trust me, Mom. I love you.
About that.
I love you. Trust me. But we were not seeing eye to eye. She wasn't seeing my vision, right? Understandable. Oh. But, man, I'll tell you what. She took a screenshot of that and texted to me yesterday. It's like, I don't need you texting me this.
Yeah.
That's why I blocked you.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's even our own family members. Not because they hate you or anything. No. It's because...
Here's the deal. They have fear about... They don't... And especially, like, let's view it the military. This is probably a lot of military vets watch this. My parents didn't technically not want me to join the Marine Corps, but they probably didn't want me to, and they have a good reason.
Right.
Like, I don't want my son to go die. They're in it for a different reason than me. I'm in it to fulfill my fantasy of life, of what I want to go do, of being a Marine or a soldier or a special operations, whatever that is. And your parents have every right to say self-preservation. Their job as parents are to protect you, keep you alive, keep you safe. And so is it advantageous for their agenda to fucking send you off to be in the Marine Corps infantry or the Army infantry? Hell no, absolutely not. But what do? You have to do that's aligned with the path that you want to take. It's the same concept with going out and doing your own thing. And so you have to be willing to shut out all that noise and go forward and still do it, because they don't have the same vision for you as you have for you. And that's okay. If they had the life that you wanted, then you would admire them for the life that they have.
And it's a lot of noise, man. It's a lot. It gets noisy. It gets extremely noisy, dude. What can you talk about how it almost seems like people want to put their life, how you should live your life, and how people are like, oh, okay, yeah, I should get married. I should have the house, right? And it's, hey, man, maybe that's not what the fuck you want, but that's what society has. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, that is true. That happens all the time. That happens all the time. And we're probably guilty of it too.
Yeah.
Like you and I. I'm guilty of it by wanting people to want more, and maybe they don't, And so I'm guilty for trying to be like, you could grow more, you could have more, you could freaking live where you want, have what you want. And there's some people that honestly, like I said a second ago, don't want that. But you have to ask yourself if that's truly what you don't want. And I don't think people ever give themselves the option. They don't think it's an option. They see the car, that they don't think it's an option. So they never even think that they can obtain it. And so they just, deductive reasoning, they just knock it out. A fine example is I know some business owners, and they said that they never thought that they would become as successful as they were. And by all means, they're not worth hundreds of millions, but they do well for themselves, right? They're like the first gen of successful entrepreneurs.
Right.
And have made what we would call in the average world good money,
right.
Like really good money. But they never thought that they would even get there, so they really have no afterthought of where they want to go from there. So they just kind of cap and stop. And so you have to get clear with what you really want, man. That's why self-development is so important. And it's not a one-time thing. Oh, I self-developed and I meditated like Austin said, and now I figured out who I wanted. Checkmate. No, it's going to change. Things are going to change. Like the things I want now and the where I want to go and my opportunities have grown with me as I've gone through it. But so many times people get hung on to the materialistic things or the lifestyle that they have that they'll never let go in order to get really, really what they want. The best saying in the world is you have to be willing to sacrifice the life that you have now in order to get the life that you want.
Absolutely.
And you can't have both. And it's going to cost you a lot more, and you're going to have to be willing to give up things that you may have worked really fucking hard for. You swung a hammer for 15 years and you bought that 3-bedroom, 2-bath house and that F-150 with that fucking hammer, right? Like by working hard, working overtime, framing houses or doing concrete work. So that money you're like, dude, you know how hard it was for me to get to where I am today? But that's because of the information that you have. And so you have to be willing to get rid of that and grow and expand your mind.
Can you elaborate how important it is to reinvest your earnings, in order to grow? And you're right. People work so hard to obtain a level, right? But once you're at that level, you have the option. You can hang out there forever, or you can reinvest. Yeah. But it's going to cost you to give that up to grow.
Well, I would challenge people to say this. You said you can get there forever, and I think what I realized at a point in my life was that there is no forever, because at one point in life, everybody watching this, if you have a home, or you have clothes, or you have cars, the clothes are going to go in the trash one day, the house will be somebody else's one day, and the car will either be in the junkyard or somebody else's as well. And so you don't have forever things. And the sooner you realize that, the easier it will be for you to release it and give it up now so that you can move to the next level, because it may be the very things that you're hanging on to that hold you back from getting to the next level.
Are there levels to the game?
100%. And they're all here. It's all mental, right? It's all mental. But at the beginning, it is mental. It is mental, and I'll explain why. This is a good conversation. You have to start learning new information. At the beginning, a lot of times we have to unlearn all of the programming we have from, maybe it's our parents, it's the teachers, it's the school system, all of these things, this old story, right? Because people, a teacher in middle school told me I was never good at math, and that shit stuck. I'll never be successful because my daddy was a crackhead. This stuck. Like all of this stuff in this story, and people pat you on the back and say, oh, Hector, every day, it's okay. Your dad was a crackhead. We'll help you out. You need money. And so you create this victim. You create this personality and this persona of being a victim. And that's what the majority of people walk around with.
Facts.
Right? So you have to cut that out and change that. And the best way to do that is one thing that the people need the most at the very beginning is money. They need financial education. They need some financial literacy and understand how to obtain or make more money. That's what most people think they want in the beginning or need. So you have to, how are you going to do that? How do you expect to do that? Here's how you don't do it. If you want more money, you don't go get more formal education to avoid trying to make more money, because now what you're going to do is you're just going to get a job, and then that job you're going to have to ask permission to make more money. What you need to do is, I realized, like, I just want to cut out all the shit in between, and I just want to learn how to make more money. What will do that? And then I said, okay, well, now there's these things. Let's say we laid them out. There's 10 things that show me how to make more money. Day trading, real estate, starting a company, service business, doing all these things, whatever it is, selling watches, whatever. Okay, now I throw in the other piece and I say, hey, what's going to also provide me the lifestyle I want? Because if I started an insurance firm and I wanted to grow it to $100 million, I'm not going to be home a lot with my kids.
Right.
I'm going to have to trade a lot of my 30s, 40s, and maybe even 50s in order to get the business to where it needs to be time-wise. And some people are willing to sacrifice that. That's fine. But that's not what I threw in the pot. And so you have to ask yourself, what are these things that make more money? How can I make more money? And then start focusing all of your energy and efforts on that instead of watching the fucking NFL game, instead of going to the beer drinking thing with your buddy, buying the wheels for your car. I literally went from buying stupid shit for my trucks and cars, even though I was making an hourly wage. I somehow came up with enough money to go to Buffalo Wild Wings every weekend and spend a couple $100 on booze and wings. And then I would buy new wheels and tires for my truck almost every year, or get a new car, or buy a motorcycle, right?
Right, dude.
But I never had any money to go hire a mentor.
Facts.
And so the pinnacle change in my life was like, if I have money to go do that, then I should just maybe be mature enough to try this out and not buy the things and see if I can change, if this really works. And dude, it does. It really does. If you want it to, it will. And that new information, then you apply it, and then it keeps growing.
Not only that, it almost seems like I became more resourceful. It's like you're making more, but now I'm spending on less stupid shit.
True, 100%.
I'm not spending money on dumb shit like I used to.
Yeah, but that's because a lot of times when you don't make a lot and you don't like the life you have, you're trying to escape it. So you try to use the time that you have available, which may be only the weekends or your time off or your 2 weeks or a year vacation, to maximize your life experience.
That makes sense.
Because when you're an entrepreneur, you're living your life now, and we're here on a freaking Tuesday at 1 o'clock, and we can go where we want. We could have coffee for another 2 hours. We could have had breakfast. Doesn't matter. Like, when you're living a more free life, it's different. It's totally different. So they're maximizing. They're trying to make the biggest payoff. They're trying to justify the position that they're in that they hate.
That's fucking crazy, bro.
Yeah.
The amount of wisdom.
This,
you're dropping some fucking gems, dude.
It's been through coaching a lot of people. And then what happens is, when I've coached a lot of people, and I started just teaching people about real estate investing. That was the easiest thing. They would say, how'd you do what you did, bro? You actually stopped building homes and you were making a lot of money to go and to do this? That's crazy. Can you teach me? And so that's how it started. But when I would get on these calls, when I would start working with these guys and girls, I was like, there's a lot of other things that need to come first and that need to be applied into these programs, because I didn't just snap my fingers and just flip houses and make millions. I had to become the person that was financially stable, that was financially trustworthy for the lenders to connect with me, that was responsible, with a business. And I had a lot of lessons to be learned from step one to where I was when I started coaching. And so on these calls, you dive into these things and you give people advice, but when you hear them talk to you and tell you what's going on in their life, it makes you self-reflect on how you really did do it. Because my objective and just who I am is like, I want to see you succeed. If you work with me, I want to see you succeed in all ways. And so I'm like, what was it that Austin was dealing with 5 years ago? What was I thinking? And I would look back. And so much self-reflection of what led me here has helped me guide people forward, if that makes sense.
No, 100%, dude. So I've considered doing real estate investing, right? As a matter of fact, you want to grow your portfolio and stuff like that. Now, I'm asking this question because I genuinely want to know. Some people have that dream does it make any sense to buy one rental property and then it's or are you stuck? Do people get stuck there? Do they
buy
get
wrong.
discouraged?
Yeah, if you buy wrong, you can get stuck.
If you buy
can
wrong,
make
you can get
mistakes. 100%. Yep. And so you have to learn. It goes back to like new information, right?
Right.
And so learning how to buy a deal. I tell people this. I'm like, if I just coached you on real estate right now,
Yeah.
I said, you're going to invest, X amount of dollars working with me. Let's say you invest $10,000 working with me, and I'm going to show you how to find deals. I'm going to show you how to get the correct ones, and I'm going to show you how to build your portfolio or sell the properties and make money.
Yeah.
Like, okay. You could buy the wrong deal, and you're going to go do it with a realtor, a retail realtor. You're going to buy it off the market, maybe market value price, which means today's price. It's on Zillow. Is this a good deal? I know this neighborhood's great. That's what most people say. I could rent this out if I had a 30-year mortgage. And so that's what most people say. I have to put 10, 20% down. Okay. So if it's $1 million, it's quite a bit of money down. If it's a $100,000 house, it's still a decent amount of money down. And then the realtor is going to catch a commission when you buy it from her, when you buy it from the market. And that could be anywhere from 3% to 6%, depending on how it was negotiated. And that 3 to 6%, you're going to pay more to buy a property wrong to an agent that didn't do shit to turn the lights on than you would be to invest with me and totally understand how real estate investing works. But people won't put that math together. The ones that have been super successful.
Bro, I'm going to hit you up, dude, for sure, man.
Yeah, but
For
you're right.
sure.
Like the question you asked about real estate is huge. So yes, you can buy deals wrong and it can scorn you. But there's a lot of people that say they're real estate investors. It's a very broad word like entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. It's really hype right now, right? But they're not really buying property at a discounted value, adding to it. They don't understand the business side of it. A lot of people buy property. Maybe they're a doctor, they're a high income earner, they do something well, or they're a business owner. They'll go buy property simply for the tax deductions, and they'll go buy it retail. They'll buy it wrong, and they'll say they have a real estate portfolio or they built this real estate portfolio, but they've taken active income and bought assets, which is okay. That's okay. That's an okay game to play. But when you're a real estate investor and you're constantly doing it, a lot of times you're doing value add opportunities. So you're taking a property, you're tweaking it, you're upping rents, you're remodeling it if you need to, and you're taking it at a discount. So let's just use round numbers. Buy a property for 50 grand. Bear with me. I know properties aren't 50 grand anymore. They used to be when I started. 50 grand, you add $20,000 in rehab, but you knew before you bought this property that it was going to be worth $100,000. So you just created $30,000 in equity.
Right.
Instead of coming to that deal and buying it for 100 grand and putting $30,000 down.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And if you have a job, and if you watching this, you have a W-2 job or a commission-based job, you have to ask yourself, how long does it take you to make $30,000? Sometimes it takes people to save an extra after your living expenses.
Right.
It may take you a year, 2 years, maybe 5 years for some people to save $30,000. So if that's the case, how many properties are you going to be able to accumulate over a 5 to 10 year span? Very small amount.
But does it get more complicated? I mean, flipping a house, buying it for 50, adding 20, you got to be able to find contractors and stuff like that. Does that complicate matters? Or is it more once you get in your foot in the door, you get the little network going?
Oh, once you get your foot in the door, you get network going.
Really?
Yeah, just like anything else. Yep, just like anything else. And I'm not saying we do a whole rehab on property, like
Correct.
crazy rehab a lot of times. It's just updating property and things like that. But that's the beginning of it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm fucking stoked, man. I love having these fucking...
You could ask that question in reverse too and say, yeah, does it take a little bit to learn this, or is it going to be harder hiring construction? That is an intimidating factor for a lot of people, especially if they don't have any construction experience. But I would challenge that with going back to what I said a second ago. How long is it going to take you to save 30 grand? Or would you rather just learn how to make that? Because if you can do it once, you can do it twice. If you can do it twice, you can do it 4 times. And if you can do that in a year, then you make 30 grand times 4 in 1 year. I mean, even 30 grand times one deal, how much would that impact your life? Like people watching this, and added $30,000 in 1 year. Let's just say you did one deal at the numbers I just gave you, all right? How much would that impact most people's life? $30,000 in addition to what they're doing would make a big deal for most people.
Right.
I wouldn't shy away from $30,000 today still. I mean, I don't shun money at all.
Correct.
Don't, at that point.
What does Austin value? Where you're at right now, I mean, we got family, wealth. What do you value?
I value my health.
Health?
Big time. Yeah, I value my health. I value, of course, my family. I think that's a pretty good generic response, and that's true. I value my family. Like, I wouldn't want to go get rich or have the best body in the world or have all these things and then be lonely at night, right? To have no family. When you go to die at 60, 70, 80 years old, whatever it may be, you know, no one's there. They're like, wow, Austin was rich and jacked. You know what I'm saying? Like, so... But something that I value from more of a personal standpoint that really excites me, and this has always been this way, and this is something probably a lot of vets will agree with, is just adventure. Maybe I was an adventure-driven kid, from ramping bikes to joining the Marines to doing these things. You lived in Germany. Like, I love that. I love the adventure. I love seeing the world. I love experiencing life. I value it a lot, I feel. And maybe we have that perception from going to war that at a young age, you're like, you have to play 2 games, you know, going back a little bit to finances. You have to play 2 games. You have to play a short game because it's like, if I were to die tomorrow, would I be mad that I bought the Lambo or the Rolls Royce? I mean, no, I'd fucking be glad I did it. Absolutely. My daughter got to ride in it. I thought we had a fun time. We had an experience. It's an experience thing, you know, but you have to also play the long game. And the long game is like, well, what will set me up for success 10, 15, 20 years from now? So it's a balance with that.
I like that, dude. Fucking long game and the short game, bro.
Yep.
What advice do you have to viewers that want to change and are afraid to start?
I would ask them, the first thing is to challenge your beliefs. Why do you believe what you believe? From religion, from the things that you feel that are facts. Ask yourself if they're truly facts or if they're just things that you call facts because you haven't dove into these things. You know, I think that's the number one thing is, and then once you do that, I think what happens is, and I know for a fact because I've done it, is you realize like, I would like to know more information about this because I don't know if I really believe this without all the information. You know, you call it a crazy conspiracy theories, lots of stuff like that out right now, but like this needs to be based on like your own life.
Right.
Not just what the fucking media is telling you or the news or what's going on in the world. Ignore all that for right now. You need to figure out what you believe to be facts. And if you believe that's why it goes back to figuring out you and who you are, because you got to know how you tick, because you're the only one that talks to yourself over and over for the rest of your life. And if you're not on your own side, then who is? You know, mom may be against you, like you said, when you start your business. People might not like what you do when you put yourself on YouTube or Instagram or whatever it is. People not believe you should start a business because you have a great life right now. But you're the person that has to live with you. So you have to figure out who you are and what you believe. And so in order to be successful, that's one of the most important things. What's crazy is I've sat at tables and I've been in entrepreneur groups of people that make millions of dollars. I know people that have exited 8-figure plus companies, some 9, and made big money. And I've been fortunate to have qualified to get into some of these rooms and sat down at small tables with these people. And they've made a lot of money. They've done really well in business in this one space.
Yeah.
But I've also seen the backside of it to where they're insecure about their body.
Right.
They feel very insecure about all these other factors of their life. And so they're essentially standing on one vertical, one thing that they're good at, instead of looking at, you know, let's just say health, wealth, relationships, you know, those things, all of those. And I think that for me, I want to be good at all of those, not just, I'm just a rich guy that's fat and, you know, I don't need to be ripped because I have all this money, you know, and then we all know the bodybuilders out there that are jacked, ripped, best physiques in the world, dude at the beach that's just like dialed in. You're like, damn, that's fucking the guy that looks jacked, but he doesn't know shit about money. And then you need, like I said, then we all know the guy that maybe has both of those, but at the end of the day, he's lonely. He has no family. Like he has nothing, you know, when it comes down to it, and you held a gun to our head. I know you have a daughter, I have kids, you know, and you were like, you had to give up the money. You had to go every materialistic thing you had. You couldn't go to the gym for a month, whatever all these things are to save your kiddo. We'd fucking do it in a heartbeat.
Easily.
Like not even a second thought.
Right.
Right. And so that's super important to have that perspective and understand. But some people, I'll get off this soapbox, but I promise you, this is the other part.
I like it, dude.
Is the fucking dads that stand on, I'm the best dad. That's why they don't go work hard and make the money, and that's why they don't work on their physique too. But the reality is, like, you have to go live your dreams. You have to go and be the best version of you and understand you so that you can go around and actually teach your kids to do the same thing. They're following what you do, not listening to what you say.
Definitely, dude.
You know, how can a dad, like, let's say you stayed in the correction system and you fucking you went through it forever, and you're like, well, I'm married, I have kids, and I just should stay here because I'm afraid to lose my job. I don't want to do it. I don't want to fail my family. And you did it, but you did it miserably, but you never let anybody know, and you just fucking grunted it out. And your kids watch you do that. And then how are you going to be able to tell your kid, dude, take the leap, go trust yourself, go do the thing? They're going to look at you back, well, why haven't you, Dad?
Fuck.
You know, why haven't you back? Well, you know, I just wanted to do this and this. And then they're going to gain a lot of their beliefs off of that.
I broke the generational curse, bro.
It is.
I don't even look at it as a curse though, because hey, I got to give credit where credit is due, man. Back in the day, you know, my father, and that's all they knew, man.
That's all they knew. 100%. Yeah, but, you know, we could challenge that too.
Yeah.
Is that all they knew, or is that all they chose to look for?
Oh, I'm from a small ass town, bro. But again, it's right. It's
But
the
then
story.
again,
I'm from a small town.
You're selling the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're giving them an alibi, which
Right.
which is fine. I mean,
Right.
I'm not saying we should beat on the people before us.
Right,
By all
right,
means, we're where we're at because of them. So we're very grateful
Facts.
for that. But I'm saying this because you're doing exactly what we're talking about.
Exactly.
You're giving them a story, but at the same time, you changed it. I mean, this is just a time blip in life right now. Like, they were just born before you. So you're changing it. Why is it fucking different? Why are you more special?
What a
Because you're
trip.
changing it.
What a trip, dude.
It is a trip, though, to think about. You'll be like, there was the lack of information. Be like, no, dude, there were people that fucking went across the whole world back in 1919. You know what I'm saying? Like, the United States is one of the youngest countries. Some fucking crazy bastard jumped on a ship and you know, went over here to the United States.
Fucking flying kites with keys and shit.
Yeah.
Getting electrocuted.
So it's the individual that challenges their thought process and beliefs, right? Like, you could pick up and leave your hometown regardless of where you're at.
Do you have a daily routine that you fucking mandatory hit? Like you wake up at the same time, work out?
I'm huge on, you know, one of the Marine Corps phrases that I like to carry out is like improvise, adapt, and overcome. And sometimes there's seasons of life that have to change, you know, when I've moved or my kids were younger or all these things. And so I'm kind of in a transition period this year. I'm going to change up my schedule. But normally I wake up around 4, usually at 4, and then I go straight to the gym. I'd just go work out, get my head right, do cardio, listen to an audiobook. I still try to program myself for positive, right? Whether it's a YouTube video, whether it's a podcast, whether it's, you know, anything that's motivational, getting me into a positive state of mind, that's huge. It helps me a ton. And so that was kind of my routine before. But what I'm jumping into now is I find that I'm a lot more productive by jumping into about 2 to 3 hours of work. So I'll wake up, drink coffee or caffeine, and then I'll just get to work. I'll look at thinking about, I get really creative. I get into this deep workflow. Nobody's messing with me. Everybody's asleep still. And then I get to go to the gym after that. And here in beautiful San Diego, you know, the sun's out again now. And so I find, it feels so good.
Yeah, dude.
But I still will usually program myself before I start working, meaning listening to these, to whether it's a book, whether it's a podcast,
Right.
whether, you know, all these things where I'm like, I'm inspired, I'm creative, I'm ready to roll. So I don't have any, I'm not one of those guys that's like, if I don't get a fucking ice bath and, you know, stretch and do all these things, like some of that, I think that could be a weakness too.
Definitely.
It's something you and I both know as being in military infantry dudes, dude. I mean, if you're hoping, you're not a professional athlete, like, oh, everything needs to be dialed in and perfect. No, dude, you're fucking sleeping on an IFAT or a mat on the ground, and you may get into firefight or you may go through training, whatever. You may not have chow tonight. I don't know.
Exactly.
So you just deal with it.
Fucking A, dude.
The military taught us that, bro.
Improvise, overcome, and adapt.
Yeah, improvise, adapt.
So, Austin, dude, where can our viewers find you? Are you on the web, bro? You got a website?
Absolutely, dude. So easiest thing to do is probably just hit me up on Instagram, austin.hancock1. Hit me up there. I'll chat with you. Super fast response. Or go to www.austinhancock.com. Adapt and overcome. Yeah.
Austin, dude, I want to thank you for coming on the show, dude. Holy shit. I knew it was going to be a good conversation, man.
I love it, dude.
I freaking
Great relationship,
knew it, dude.
too.
Definitely.
Sure.
Yeah, we're going to keep in touch, bro. You're in San Diego now.
Yep.
So we're right there. Thank you guys for watching, man. Holy shit. Another banger, right? We try to drop that knowledge and wisdom and experience on you guys because it's all about helping the next person. With that, if you guys like what you watch, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Love you guys. Keep pushing forward.
Unhinged mind, Hector's legend engraved. Living life raw, never been tamed. From the hood to the pen, truth and tales bend. Hector Bravo unhinged, story never ends.